He looks to throw, looking deep downfield. He's got a receiver open. It is complete. That is Stevens for a touchdown.
The Bulldog Radio Network proudly presents the Coach Gray Show on 102.7 FM, Kearney's hometown radio station. And now, here are the hosts of the show, Mike Davis, Jim Dickerson, and Coach Josh Gray.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Coach Gray Show. It is Thursday afternoon. It's actually Thursday around noon, and Coach Gray is in studio with us. Welcome to the show, Coach. Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you as well. Good to be back.
Wow, what an intro. Yeah. Look at that. And my friend and co-host of the show, Jim Dickerson. That's about the way we welcome him generally. Oh, you again. You came back. And ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Brian Watts. I just love that. I got Brian laughing. That's a good thing. That's what I like to see.
He's not sweating.
I know it. It is this would be the final Coach Gray show of 2020. My goodness.
I'm gonna take this crowd away from you.
This crowd is out of control. Of the year 2020, which
can go away,
right? We as we were discussing off the air, and with a few choice adjectives, we can't say on the air.
Can I show you something? See the wall right here?
Right.
We repaired it because that's where the chair hit when we were having a discussion.
Well,
I'll try to fix
it.
Sorry about that. I had no idea it slipped.
The final game was an unfortunate 43-0 loss to Smithville, which doesn't make anybody happy except Smithville. But
let's
go ahead, Jim. Let's just get it out there.
Let's just get it out.
Right.
Did their quarterback have both legs?
Oh man, we're already there. All right.
Oh man. Well, yeah. I think just to be 100%. So we found out not too long ago that there's some things about the game that nobody knew.
Yeah. Like just recently.
Like 3 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago, maybe. So, and we've got to be kind of careful how we say this. So, do you want me to take a stab at it?
Go for it, Jim.
Do you want me to take a stab at it?
Have at it. Whatever question.
The team that was there at the Smithville game is not the normal team.
I think that's a
if
safe
you
way.
know what I'm saying.
Yep.
And because of circumstances beyond the control of the team and the district, the team that played was not the team that played through the year. Is that a good way to put that?
We had a few guys out.
So
there's the tactful way to say it. We had a few guys out.
And I know we've said this multiple times, and it's about our players and about the kids, and it's about ensuring that we're going to play a football game regardless of what the situation was dealt us on Friday afternoon. And in 2020, it becomes.
But hypothetically,
that's the way it is.
Hypothetically, I'm not going to hold you to this, but when would one maybe have found out of the change to the team on game day? Did it happen on game day?
It did.
And I mean, roughly what time might have that been?
It was later. It was, yeah.
Was it after your last practice, maybe? In other words, you weren't able to go in?
That was Friday. Yeah. We found out Friday. I can say that. And
I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not being critical. Well, and I'm not being critical of the district and all that. I get it. It's just that when you talk about things that have happened in 2020, and we talked about the adversity and the changes and the challenges and all that, in football, there's always adversity and challenges and all that.
Absolutely.
But not like this. This has been...
It's a little different. It's been a different year. And, to put a positive spin on it, it was obviously not what we wanted, not what anybody wanted. But that was what was dealt us. And, I really, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, I think our kids going into it, they fought their tails off, and I'm not going to hit your table again, but they fought their tails off, and they fought for the school, they fought for the community, for the team, and and that was great to see. And that didn't matter at what point in time in the game. And I know that the score, was what it was, but the guys playing, they battled hard, and they fought hard. They played their hearts out, and nothing to take away from them. And they represented their school, the program, great in my eyes. And I'm very proud of them. I'm proud of this football team, of the things that they've done this year, overcoming many obstacles. And I'm sure there's schools out there that have done the same thing. But I'm very proud of our guys. I'm proud of our staff. It was like they'd get punched and just come on back and come back again, and just kept fighting through whatever was dealt them throughout the year. And very resilient group. They persevered, all these big words, but they did. They persevered through a lot of things that I think a lot of teams would have just gave up and crumbled. And it says a lot about the character of our kids and the dedication that they have to the program and to the school and to the community. I mean, that weighs on them, because they want to represent well. And in my eyes, they did on Friday. It just ended up, it was more in a different way, I guess, than you would say looking at a score. They represented themselves very well with a lot of class, and ended the season and on the football field, as opposed to a canceled game. And
right.
There's a lot of schools that has happened. We were fortunate enough to be able to field a team and be able to finish the season on the field playing the game of football, and that was really important to us and to the kids. So
it'd have been worse to not play at all.
Yeah,
I mean, just they call you in the afternoon and say,
"Don't bother to show up.
Go home.
Right.
Enjoy yourself."
And we've got a lot to be, proud of throughout the whole season. I mean, there's a lot of good things that have happened, a lot of learning, and those are things that when you reflect back on a team and on a season, where was our growth? Where did we grow, and what are we going to continue to look forward to, and how do we celebrate the seniors that are leaving with the accomplishments they had? It may not be with wins, losses, but the things that they brought to the program, the things that they taught our younger kids, and how to persevere through difficult situations. They saw them do it every week, and those younger guys definitely learned from them. So it's not ideal, but nothing ever is ideal, in with things. So
this year though, I mean, is exceptional, and we all know that. And
right,
and so the fact, and we've talked about that here internally, as it applies to the Bulldog football team. I mean, we write stories after the game. We talk about it during the week with you and others, and you can't help but see the character of this team shine through when a couple of things. They missed 2 games that were just absolutely canceled right out from under them. We all know that. And then came back and played 2 amazing district games. Did a real nice job, I thought, against Excelsior Springs, and then came back and had probably one of the better games I think I've seen, and I mentioned it before, as Jim and I have been calling these games. I mean, that is absolutely one of the most remarkable comebacks to see what you guys did against Winnetonka.
Well, and don't forget, you had the last-minute travel down to Reed's Spring, clear down there.
Yeah,
and that was a day before change, like a day and a half or something.
Yeah,
right.
Late Tuesday, so we had Wednesday,
right,
to get ready.
And we've also taken into account not just players, coaches, parents, and so forth, and the media. Consider us the media.
I'd rather you didn't.
Well, you get right up to the microphone to say that, but
I'd rather you didn't refer to us as the media.
All right, but
because we're not fake.
Well, that's the difference. There's fake media, and we're the real media. But in any case, there are people that are over there at the stadium, in the school district, all of the people involved in putting together a game and taking care of the field afterward. People all throughout the stadium that help clean up and finally turn the lights off. you forget about those people a lot of times when you're just, you're winning games and you're going down the road and you're going to a championship or whatever, and you forget about all the people that are responsible for making sure that a game actually happens. And we haven't forgotten, and we've spoken about them throughout this season, but in particular, I think after this last game, because it certainly didn't play out as we just learned the way that we had hoped.
So let me ask you this: how does this impact the seniors, who? And we talked a little bit about this before, but now that the season's over, how does it impact the seniors that want to go on in football? As we know, there's some that, this is it. They're done with their football. And I feel really bad. And it didn't just happen here in Kearney. I've read where it's happened all over the country where, guys were going to play their last senior game ever, and they weren't going to play football going into college, and the game just didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's not like they got hurt. The game just didn't happen. And so, you lose that experience. But that aside, how does it impact the guys that are going on, the looks they would normally get, the scouts and that sort of thing? How does that impact them?
And that's, the most important piece there is kind of like we talked before was, making sure that their huddle highlights are up to date and doing that and pushing that stuff out and still communicating with recruiters throughout the year. And, you may be obviously a few games short, or if you got quarantined, maybe an extra 2. So that piece is important, and still getting them out there and getting their name out there and who's wanting to go play. And like you said, there's a lot that, hey, my last game is going to be whenever our last game is. And some of them were able to fulfill that. And unfortunately, some weren't able to do that on the field. And that's, what you don't want. But as far as an impact, sure, it has an impact. They're not able to, we were able to have recruiters come in to games, with an extra ticket or whatever to come down to be able to recruit and watch games and watch our kids, and which is beneficial, obviously. But the big piece is communication from them and from us as a staff to continue to push them out there with the highlights that they've made through the season with them on the field doing what they do.
I understood too that this year, for the kids who graduated in 2019, that the colleges, for the kids that are now playing at the college level, they all get an extra year of eligibility.
Right.
Which is a huge thing.
Which is huge because that affects this recruiting class.
Right.
That they may not need.
Oh yeah.
A certain position, obviously, because they're going to have that senior back. That some obviously will stay, and obviously some will say, I'm going to go get a job in whatever my profession I'm in, and go on. But a lot of them will stay, and that hurts this recruiting class of guys that are leaving high school right now,
right? Because
for that reason.
Well, I would imagine though there might be opportunities even at junior college level,
right,
or other programs that clearly could use the help,
right,
of a guy who's got
finding that school, and finding those
exactly right,
those teams, and they're needing that.
But I think there's a lot of self-recruiting. That's what I'm understanding you saying.
Yeah,
there's a huge amount of self-recruiting,
right,
to get your information out there,
and they've got to get that. And that's why we talk to them all the time. Get your highlights done right from the beginning.
Yeah, get
a mid-season one we can push out. Get a season recap or whatever of every of your games, of your highlights, so that the recruiters and college teams can take a look, right, and find them.
There's all the funny thing is, well, it's not really funny, but the interesting thing is the levels of complexity that go along with it. So let's just take randomly, and I'm not doing anything here, but let's take like a running back, and a running back who depends heavily on the offensive line and the schemes that are involved there. Then you lose half the offensive line, and therefore you've got offensive line guys that are not covering the gaps or blocks they're supposed to do just because they don't know or they're not used to being in that position. And therefore, the running back who normally would have,
excel.
Here's the thing. If the O-line doesn't do his job, Marcus Allen doesn't go anywhere. It just
right,
doesn't happen. Maybe I used somebody that was too old. Should I use somebody younger?
No,
I know who you're talking about.
I know where you're going.
But
and you're referring to the game played on last Friday, right?
Well, I'm just talking across the board, across the country. Guys that in certain positions, whether it be quarterback, defensive positions, running back, but a lot of these positions depend on other positions. It's like we've talked about before. It's a team thing. If half the team's missing for whatever reason and they're doing things they're not accustomed to, it affects the play of, and I use the running back just as an example, his highlight reel is not going to be stellar.
Right. Yep, that makes sense. Yep.
And that's where it becomes important that, the communication, and you have film early on and throughout, and you're kind of plugging yourself on that highlight reel with things that you're, from other games that maybe were full or whatever, whatever it is. And then communication with the coach and the coaches and whatever recruiters of, hey, what, the biggest thing, I think a lot of kids end up losing understanding the impact of grades and your work ethic, and what you do off the field is just as important as, what you do on the field. Now, that's a big piece of it.
Right.
Obviously, talent is a huge driving factor, but, you got to do well in school. You got to be a kid with, high character, and that, that's willing to work, put in the time, the weight room, all those things that kind of make up an athlete. And that's whether it's football, basketball, wrestling, whatever the sport may be, that they've got to understand. And that, at a young age, that's hard to understand that grades are really important. But, in the recruiting process, if you're wanting to go to the next level, grades are a huge piece. That's one of the first questions to ask. What are his grades like? Well, it's black and white on the piece of paper on the transcript. So
kind of like Animal House, all classes incomplete.
Drunk and stupid
is no
way to go through life.
Andrew Butowski has no grade point average. 0.0.
He's been enrolled here. I see he's been enrolled at the school for 16 years.
Brian's had enough. He's like, all right, let's get out of this.
You're listening to the Coach Grace. You go ahead.
I was going to say,
get us out of here.
When we come back, let's talk about the players, the highlights of some of the players.
There you go.
That there were some great plays and some great things that happened, and that through the year. We'll just leave it at that. We'll be back in just a minute.
Making our programming possible on KPGZ are these fine underwriters.
Whether you're a large or small business, or just want internet at your home, Casey Coyote is here to help with all your internet needs. We pride ourselves on being a redundant, resilient, and reliable network to provide you with the best internet available. You can give Casey Coyote a call and talk to one of our local, friendly customer service representatives to see if you pre-qualify for our service at your home or business. Casey Coyote at 816-866-3038.
Injuries can happen anywhere, playing sports or playing with your kids or grandkids.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Strathland with Kearney Family Chiropractic Center, and I've been practicing chiropractic health in Kearney for over 22 years. When you come to see me, I identify what's wrong and determine if I can help you. If I can, I create your personalized plan for relief.
When you have pain, you can make an appointment by calling 816-628-6738. Kearney Family Chiropractic Center. Heal yourself.
Legendary Lawn Care. That's right. Legendary is your one-stop lawn equipment center. They've got over 40 years of experience with technicians who service all makes and models of lawn equipment. 4853 Southeast Highway PP in Holt. 816-320-3878. And don't forget to look for the special coupon on 1027carneymo.com/coupons. Let the friendly and knowledgeable staff at Legendary Lawn Care find the right legendary service for your needs.
Friday Night Sports. When athletes compete, they give it their all. At Liberty Hospital Sports Medicine, we're staying open Friday nights after the lights to treat the bumps and bruises that are part of the game. At Liberty Hospital Sports Medicine, we'll have physicians available to evaluate and treat right on the spot. So after the lights, remember Liberty Hospital Sports Medicine every Friday night from 9 to 11 p.m.
And we're back on the Coach Gray Show. It's Thursday afternoon. It's the end of the 2020 football season as we know it here in Kearney anyway. And we've got Coach with us here today. And I wanted to talk about a couple of guys. We wanted to mention some of these kids over the course of this year. We have, of course, as you know, we have the Stables Player of the Game, and we have the Kearney Chamber of Commerce Play of the Game. But the Player of the Game, each year we award a really nice patch. We don't have one in here for the moment, but
way to go, Brian.
Yeah, well,
you had one job. One.
He's actually doing several jobs right now. But in any case, we recognize these guys, and it's very difficult from game to game to just pick one guy and say, yeah, that's the guy that did it all. Well, and it's obvious. It's not the case at all. What happens, though, unfortunately, in football in general, it's the guys, the hogs, the guys that get down and dirty, the guys in the trenches. It's the O linemen and the D linemen. These are the guys that are the unsung heroes. And really, frankly, if you don't have an offensive line, it doesn't matter how tricky you are on offense.
Well,
you got to have these.
You know
guys.
what? That kind of brings us full circle. But that is such one thing that we've learned. Well, we didn't learn, but one thing it really showed and exemplified was what happened in Smithville.
Right.
And you realize how important those guys are, that you don't hear their name every day.
Five guys up front.
And you never O and D on offense and defensively.
Right. And those guys, many of those guys play both ways.
Yeah. But they're so important, and because even at the professional level or college level, what do you always hear? Quarterback, running back, wide receiver. You never hear of us. Very rarely do you hear.
Unless you have the most expensive quarterback in football, and then you want to make darn sure that you've got an offensive line that keeps him clean.
Oh, let me ask you this. When you see the guys that are making millions on, why are you laughing?
Keeps him clean.
Brian,
this is football. Brian's not accustomed to the sort of the football lingo that's. So they don't actually wash them off or anything like that.
No, we've got Coach Greg over there rolling his eyes and looking around, waiting for him to for his chance to talk.
Before Jim interrupted me, I was going to talk about
to make a point.
Two very specific players.
Hang on. You quit rolling your eyes, then you stop talking. This is my show. I reclaim my time.
Welcome to the Jim Dickerson Show, and here's Jim.
But anyway, there it goes. Woohoo! I won. But when you talk about guys who have these big contracts for commercials and all that stuff,
you have an enormous contract. Go ahead.
Do you ever see? Go
ahead.
Get the camera off me. Do you ever see like an O lineman or a D lineman? Very rarely.
No.
I mean,
right.
Watt is probably the only guy I can think of. He has a soup commercial.
Brian Watts.
Not Watts. Watts. Forget it. You guys.
But typically,
I'm out.
Let me talk about two guys, though, that I think, and Jim, your point is made and taken. Kyle Midkiff.
Trying to make me happy.
Kyle Midkiff and Cade Dunlap. Two of these, the guys that are, the big boys.
Right.
And I cannot tell you, and in fact, I can tell the audience this. We want to award both of those guys what I would call, it's sort of honorary, because we didn't really have an opportunity to give you guys a Stables Player of the Week award. We are now going to give you both a Stables Player of the Week award for the amazing work, the job that you guys did throughout the season, and we saw it, and it's obvious. Believe me, when you see, especially on a lot of those goal line situations,
right.
that's where it really shows up.
Yeah, both of those players. I mean, Cade played both ways, offense and defense. So did Kyle. Kyle played both ways, offensively for a while, and then mostly defense there towards the end. And both of them very deserving, and two guys that don't get a lot of recognition, just like a lot of the other O linemen that don't get it, and D linemen that you kind of refer to. But those two did a phenomenal job this year, and great examples of young men that when you work hard and you're coachable and you do the little things right, good things happen. And those two definitely follow that suit there.
The other guy too, and he's a junior, and I'm glad to see it, is Keenan McNally, who I thought did a terrific job this year. And I saw him just sort of, you could see him grow into the position.
He didn't early on. It took him took him a little while, and finally he earned a spot and earned some opportunities on the field, and really has done very pleased with his progress and what he's doing. And for him, it's about continued progress over the winter and over the spring and summer as we get into next season. But I believe he's playing basketball and all those things. I
can see why.
will definitely help him. And but really has started to develop as being a pretty dang good O lineman.
Yeah, he had some. He's the right tackle, and I could see. I wish I could remember which game, but he absolutely took care of business over on the right-hand side. Whoever the opposing defensive end was that he had to take care of.
As Coach Diefenbach would say, he's just a big snowplow.
He
snowplow down, man. And
yes,
between him and the guard, and
nobody got back there,
no.
and it was a thing of beauty, a thing to see. But yeah, it was midway through the season that I kept saying, "Wow, there's 77, right? Yeah, 77." And I thought, man. By the way, isn't he tall?
He's a big kid.
Yeah. So happy to see him coming back next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got him set up for the weight room then, and that goes on year round.
That's a year round thing. So I'm fortunate to have him in class, and
good.
Can show him some extra love in the weight room and load that bar up and a little extra attention.
So let's talk about people that you have coming back, because you've got a big. It seems like this year it may be a larger group that's coming back than previous.
Mm-hmm.
So Acosta would be back.
KJ Smith.
That's huge. Luke Nolan
was one. Marshall,
Joe Marshall. Lucas Starr, our center, will be back.
Darren Langford
will be back.
John Timchak.
Breedlove. Do we say kicking game will be strong on that one.
Yeah.
And he plays a terrific job at linebacker.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll do it before the break.
Cale Conway.
Breedlove was
sophomore. There's some guys coming back.
Breedlove was pretty instrumental in a game recently. Against Winnetonka, but we'll get back to that in just a minute. But
we're going to leave somebody out if we're not careful.
I know.
Well, we've got a bunch of highlighted ones here, but
the point of that is you have a big group coming back, and so hopefully
Sam Loman,
the Rona will be over. By
our tight end,
21,
Zach Grace.
Oh, Zach,
I knew you guys would like that one.
Yeah.
He was sophomore, will be back a junior.
Yeah.
So we've got a good nucleus coming back, and I think what they've learned from this season, the experience a lot of those guys got this season, definitely will help propel them and the rest of the team with that experience as they, start in the off season. And
are you allowed to do the weight room stuff? I mean, I don't. Because I know you at one time you had to space out and do all that stuff, and you were using the gym, I think, at one point, weren't you?
Yeah, and we're back in the weight room, distanced and for classes throughout the day, and obviously there's guidelines in place, but the kids have been great during class, and there's in the fall there's a after school weights program as well, and then we'll start the winter one up here shortly and get things rolling and get them back in and get going, and that's for any athlete.
But so as of right now, the athletic program is continuing as it's supposed to,
right.
as far as we know.
Right.
So, interesting. That's all I got to say about that.
Well, thank you, Jim. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the way I look at this thing is there are so many highlights that we've seen over the course of the year, and I would love to be able to have some of the footage that has been. You jumped up there, Jim, like you had something to say.
Okay.
Well,
just because I sit up doesn't mean you have to stop talking.
You're usually slouching.
Well, but we left someone out.
Go.
The fans.
Well, of course.
I mean, they were
cowbell.
So when we listened, because we're going to play a clip from the Winnetonka game here in a minute, but what was amazing to us, because you guys were on that side, we were clear across the field in the press box. They were so loud, and the Winnetonka fans who were down below us were so quiet.
Yeah. Well, at that time, yeah.
But I mean, you guys traveled so, even with everything that was going on, you guys traveled so well with the fan base. And some people say, well, because when we have games, even during a normal season, home games in Kearney, and some of the schools that are not that far away,
even Excelsior was light.
Yeah, they don't travel well.
Yeah,
and so the Kearney faithful are exactly that. I mean, they are strong.
That was the whole season. Regardless of how many we were allowed, we were always at whatever our capacity was with that, and and that's a testament to their support, obviously, for not only the football program but for everything in general. I mean, they were loud. That game, that was loud, and they're so close. They're right on top of us, right behind us, and great electricity, and it felt a little more normal with that, even with some less. But thanks to the fans that supported throughout the entire season. They were it was really tremendous, to be honest. I mean, even the home games with it sparsely, with our stadium that typically is chock full of fans. The ones where they were loud.
It was about 25%. Is that what it ended up? But I don't know, because I know it was 2 per. But
right
from where we sat, it looked probably about a quarter. Yeah. I'd say 25% of what it normally was on our side.
But did we mention Tucker Studi? That guy, he was playing his
senior. I know.
Yeah. Playing his head off. There you go.
And he's one, as a returner, brought a lot of leadership to the program and to this year, and with him in that as a safety back there, kind of ruling the roost, was able to help out some of those young guys and how to work, not only on the field but in the weight room and by example and holding kids accountable and things that captains do, and he was one that we're gonna miss him, not only on the field but just his presence.
What's he want to do in life? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell when you're a senior. We've talked about it before. I think Jim and I have decided that we're surprised we got as far as we did, frankly. But yeah, you just, and to put that kind of pressure on a kid that's 18 years old, and many of them aren't 18 until after they leave school, and you're thinking, now you need to decide what you're going to do with yourself and
for the rest of your life.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
That's an overwhelming statement right there.
It absolutely is. And at that age, life is way ahead of them, and they can change their mind.
I was going to say it's interesting how many people are doing now that are over, let's say 45.
Yeah, no.
How many people over 45 are doing what they, when they were in high school, were like, what I'm going to do?
Right.
Well,
right.
I can tell half of them are wrong because there just aren't that many astronauts. So,
well put.
Got that going for you. And
no, and I think the fact
to quote Caddyshack, because you like it.
That's right.
Well, the world needs ditch diggers too. Ouch,
Danny.
There's no wagering at Bushwood.
Bye, Bushwood. Oh, we're done.
Brian's take us out.
When we come back, hey, let's take a listen to that play of the game over there at Winnetonka. We'll do that when we come back. You're listening to the Coach Gray Show.
Thank you. We appreciate the support of local underwriters like these fine businesses.
Oak Point Assisted Living and Memory Care. What else would you expect? After all, you're home.
When I looked into an assisted living facility, I was immediately attracted to Oak Point's amenities. I get 3 delicious meals daily in restaurant-style dining areas and a trained staff on site.
To set up a tour or learn more information, please contact Tara at 816-628-0075 or visit the website at provisionliving.com.
I'm Sean Barber, owner of Stables Local Kitchen and Patio in Kearney. Stables is a Kearney thing. We love to be the place where people get together. Stables features a full menu with a scratch kitchen, offering lunch and dinner options, as well as a weekend breakfast starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday and Sundays. Stables has been a proud member of the Kearney community for almost 20 years. You can check us out online at stables816.com, and Stables is part of the True 816 family. Eat, drink, local.
Scott Accounting and Tax provides our clients with quality accounting, tax preparation, payroll, and business creation services. Small town friendliness, big town expertise. We make it our business to know your business inside and out. You can trust Scott Accounting and Tax to get your taxes done quickly, correctly, and on time. Appointments now accepted by calling 816-352-3320. That's Scott Accounting and Tax at 816-352-3320.
More reliable power means more of what you love. You expect your lights and appliances to turn on at the flip of a switch, and so does Platte Clay Electric Cooperative. That's why Platte Clay is working hard to make power more reliable in the Northland. We exist for one purpose: to empower communities and energize life with safe and reliable energy. To learn more about their plan to reduce outages across the Northland, visit www.pcec.coop/reliability. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative.
This has been one of the most exciting football games I've watched since we started calling these Kearney Bulldog football games, Jim. This team has a heart and a soul that I'm not sure I've ever seen. I mean, I think a lot of these kids came together in a strange year with COVID and all the obvious stuff, but have managed to pull themselves together even after missing a couple of regular season games because of some COVID contacts. And here they are tonight, leading right now 41-34 in an overtime situation, and it's 4th down, and the Kearney Bulldog defense has to hold the Winnetonka Griffins one more down.
The Griffins come to the line. They have 4th and 8. The ball rests at the 23-yard line. Satterwhite in the shotgun. 2 receivers to the near side. He has Moore behind him. He takes the snap. He drops back. He looks to his right. And the ball is knocked down by Breedlove. And your Kearney Bulldogs have won. Your Kearney Bulldogs are going to advance in district play.
The Class 4 District 8 game, the second game that they've played in as many weeks, the Kearney Bulldogs have been victorious both times. And they have beaten a very, very good team in the Winnetonka Griffins.
Wow. There are so many things about that. Number one, the speech that Mike gave before the play was not rehearsed. I mean, that was off the top of his head. And the funny thing is that we talk a lot about is the part right before the play where he goes, one more down, just one more down. The other part that beyond the play is, we talked a little bit about it before. Those fans that you can hear in the background that are loud are way across the field. There is nobody. I mean, there were people down in front of us on the press box, but where the microphones are that pick up the audience,
that's right out our window.
They're on our side of the field. They're not over there. So that crowd noise is coming from clear across the field.
A lot of cowbell.
And cowbell.
Yes. A lot of cowbell.
And we, full disclosure, we did not crank it up. We didn't pipe it in. We didn't do any of that NFL stuff. That's all real sound.
Right.
So hats off to the Bulldog faithful. And then Breedlove. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a heck of a play.
Yeah. That was, and it happened fast.
Didn't see him. He dropped right underneath the coverage and batted it down.
Well,
a great play.
And we didn't get to talk about the play before that. Well, we didn't get to talk about that game for other reasons, but let's talk about, for those of you who remember, when we went into, well, first of all, going through the game, we were down by, and I don't have my sheet in front of us, I don't remember. We were down by
21.
21 going into the half, I think.
We had scored right before.
No, that's right.
We were down 16, I think, at half.
And it was one of those things, as the game progressed, you were like, from our standpoint, we were like, well, if this and this happened, we could come back. But in the back of your mind going, you
didn't believe?
No, I believed, but I was
didn't believe?
But I was doing math, and it was my understanding there would be no math. But you start calculating, time left and how many points, and then we got to do this, we got to do that, and then we can't let them score. And that Satterwhite is explosive.
Yes, he is.
I mean, they could do a lot. So you come back, and then we go to overtime, which was. Let me ask you this, because you came down, you were in a position where you kick for the tie or go to 2 for the win just before the game ended.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever consider going for 2 and just trying to end it?
We kicked it.
I
made it.
I saw that.
Well, yeah, you always evaluate. I mean, we had momentum, but I think that's you evaluate what you're going to do, obviously, during the game and during that situation. And I thought, well, we take them to overtime. We're going to, kick the field goal, go into overtime, and then they were getting tired and we were not. And I think that showed up in the overtime in my mind, and I think in our staff's mind. And that's kind of how it played out.
And I like the theory of, it'd be great for excitement and everything else, but putting your season on one play, because if you don't make it, season's over. If you make it, you go on. But at least in overtime, it's not going to be one. Well, in theory, it's not going to be one play. Now, let's talk about the first play on the offense, and you had that throw to Zach, which one play, but again, you defensively had to hold. But they didn't see Zach at all.
No. They didn't, and he made a heck of a catch, and the timing was perfect, and they didn't see him. And
number 87,
Zach Grace, and made one move, and he's a tough dude to bring down. I mean, he's 6'2", like 205 as a sophomore, 6'1", 6'2". He's a big cat.
Yeah. And, we don't have the video of that, do we? No, but what?
Well,
he was the player of the week.
They left him. Yeah. They left him. Bottom line is, Winnetonka's defense left him completely uncovered, and
it was off one of our little play actions. And
you indicated to me that he was lined up as eligible tackle.
Right. So we had one of the formations we've been using was tackled. We had tackled over, and he was an eligible receiver on the backside.
Right.
Wearing an 87, which looks very similar to our 67.
Yep.
And he was an eligible tight end, and they had covered him all. They had recognized him all throughout the game
because he was split out more.
Well, that and in that same formation,
I see.
And had him covered, and the play action held up, and
they just missed it.
They missed it, and missed him, and it was a great call by Coach D. I mean, that was
no doubt about it.
Great job.
Let me ask you something about defense, because we saw these guys, Satterwhite and Montre Moore, who he had 144 yards. This was on the other game, the previous game, but he probably had that many yards anyway. But Montre Moore was unbelievable, and Jason Essex, who's just
phenomenal athletes.
He's got D1 written all over him. Yeah. But looking at Moore, Jim and I would see that he's a kid that there's just no way you could put an arm tackle on. And at halftime, we started talking about how, well, if we could get one guy to slow him down, and even if you had to sacrifice one of your safeties and bring somebody else in to just kind of help out, what would happen is then you could get more gang tackling on a guy like that, because he was so slippery, and so his ability to move laterally from side to side and just just make people whiff.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of missed tackles. I mean, we had a bunch of arm tackles, but the second half,
exactly right.
We
cleaned it up.
We cleaned that up.
Yes,
and it's funny what you learn throughout a game as a player and as.
Did you have plays called where they were safety blitzes or corner blitzes?
No. They just came down to
people stayed where they're supposed to be.
Do your job.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, so from a coach's standpoint, using what Mike says, correct me because I'm not a coach for obvious reasons. If you pull up a safety to do that because you need then you got Essex out there,
that's true.
and now
Essex,
you're right back. Yeah,
and therein lies the strength of a team like Winnetonka. I mean, I named off 3 guys right there: the quarterback, the running back, and their best wide receiver.
And their other wide receiver,
Joe Thomas, I believe, or Julian Rogers, I believe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Rogers.
They're both are phenomenal. And like you said, Essex is a D1 receiver.
Yeah,
he'll go.
They're loaded
into a Power 5 school, and but like you said, if you're bringing up a safety, then now you got to worry about.
Yeah, Essex gets out,
or you double team him, and then you have their other wide receiver.
I forget that guy's name. But the nice thing was, so when you guys played Excelsior, and they were doing that option, but it was a tight option, you could bring the safety up. This is my opinion. You could bring him up because, for whatever reason, they didn't really go with their running game. I thought the quarterback for Excelsior, he showed that he could throw. Their rhythm was a little off, but probably because they didn't do it that often. That was from where I sat. That's the way it looked. But he had the ability, it looked like, to do that. And he, you can easily let a receiver go because you're so focused on this option.
And that happened to us a couple of times that week before, where your safeties or your corners don't get their eyes right and aren't doing their job, and then they commit
to the run.
I'm going to be the hero and stop this guy, and there goes the other guy.
So, getting back to the Winnetonka game, because I want to make sure that I give the right person credit. I believe it was Luke Nolan that was covering Essex man to man. He was man to man coverage on him most of the night, right?
As a slot at one of the slots, Tim Studi, Joe Marshall did a nice job on him as well. I mean, a lot of our young guys were.
I'm looking at a sophomore,
right?
That's playing against a D1 player, and we're watching him go step for step with him, with Essex.
Yeah,
and I'm just amazed, and I'm thinking that kid's coming back next year. Luke Nolan.
Yeah, Luke is
specifically.
Yeah,
because I mean, there were a couple times I just said, "Man, that's man-to-man coverage right there," and it was right in front of us, and he did.
And that shows some of the, obviously highlighting some of their talents,
right,
as younger players.
Yeah,
and so. Looking toward next year, you get to keep a lot of that kickoff return team together too.
We do,
which was kind of funny because these guys. I think we even made a comment about it. These guys are kicking all over the field, except to your guys. They're either going to try. They were either trying to get it in the end zone, and then the kickers that don't have the ability to do that are trying to do these squib kicks.
And still coming up with some of our
well, I was going to say, then your up guys are getting it, and you're still getting great returns out of it. Maybe not a touchdown, but you're still starting at midfield or better,
right?
Which is nice.
It is, and like you said, having those guys back is obviously going to be good for their special teams units, and some of the guys that don't get, on those kickoff returns that Luke and Joe and even KJ and John Timchek had a couple off that as well, off some squibs, is the front line guys. Now, they may not be linemen, but they're the guys that are setting up the blocks, very similar to an offensive play. And, our guys really bought into, they buy into, those are huge plays. Our special teams plays, they, that one play can either win you a game or lose you a game. And it comes down to a lot on those that one play is not like an offensive play or defensive play where you've got, 3 others or 4 other downs to, whatever the situation is. It comes down to that one play for that special teams unit to execute that one play correctly.
Yes.
And we were able to do that quite a bit throughout the year.
Plus, it's demoralizing.
Right,
to the kickoff team. Right.
Yeah, big momentum swings happen on special teams, and that's our kids understand that, and they know how important those downs are.
And on those games, Jim, when we saw those run backs, you can tell the difference. The kids come out when the kids come out on defense after you've run one back, and it's like, well, I guess we're back on defense, and they come out just flying around, just flying around.
Well, and you've got the other things too. So you've got the punting game, because Acosta did a couple times where he dropped it within inside the 5.
He had 3 inside the 3.
Yeah,
and he had 5 inside the 10.
So you got that. Then you got Breedlove, who can kick a field goal from 72 yards. I think
that's what it was.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah,
man, I am so excited.
That's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. In fact,
and the good thing about that is we've got some young guys that are pushing them to be better as well. So, awesome. which is great. And our young guys that haven't been on the field yet. Mm-hmm. Are chomping at the bit, and that's that competition amongst your team at each position just helps breed that that competitive nature to getting out the most of each player.
Right, and I had forgotten Breedlove as a junior.
Yeah,
I mean because we saw him play last year, and so I was thinking, well, he's a senior this year. And every time I saw him out there until today, when you said, oh yeah, by the way, he's a junior, and I mean this guy, he's going to get bigger,
right?
Which is great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because we're going to show up at preseason. Yeah, when we come back, and it happens every year. We're standing there going, "Who's that big guy?"
Yeah,
and then you look, and last year he was 5'4", and now he's 7'9".
Well, and Breedlove's already big, though.
Yeah,
right. I mean, he's a big, powerful linebacker.
Yeah,
and you forget about that. You see him in there, and go, "Hey, by the way, that's our kicker."
Right?
Yeah,
that's usually not the combo you get.
Nope.
Is a linebacker kicker combination,
exactly.
But. He does a good job.
I think McNally was probably we'll call it the weed of the year.
Because, well, he was tall to begin with.
Right, but when we showed up, I remember when we showed up earlier this year, and it was 109 degrees, and he was out there, and I was like, that guy must be a transfer because he was huge.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, he's
been
right.
here.
Yeah.
And he kind of fell into his own and understanding what it takes, and that's the fun. There's always ups and downs throughout a season as a coach as you go through it. But I think one of the most rewarding things is seeing guys in the program. It all of a sudden just ding, and that light comes on, and it's like, God, they get it, and they understand what it's going to take, and they understand, and they want to be great. They want to be, they're coachable, and all of a sudden that light bulb turns on, and it's like just an aha moment, and that's that's a fun thing to see. And that one of the examples is Keenan this year, and how he about midseason and just kind of
there he was
aha moment, and understood what he was capable of doing, and do it with some aggression, and it was great to see.
So I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to suggest that one of the things that you start to see from a team like the Kearney Bulldogs, who played a lot of sophomores, really good athletes, though. And you tend to think, okay, well, these guys are, and you line them up next to a team like Winnetonka who's just loaded on offense. And you sort of think, wow, well, I don't know. Our guys, they aren't as big and they're younger. And just the example I used a little while ago with Luke Nolan, covering a D1 Jason Essex from Winnetonka, was showing that no, indeed, the Kearney Bulldogs are also a hugely athletic team.
Right.
And while the sophomores may not have the size comparison, the pound-for-pound comparison, what we saw for sure against Winnetonka the second time we played them when we beat them in overtime was the heart, like we talked about, the heart and the soul of that team, but also the athletic ability to go step for step with them and know exactly what it took on defense to stop those guys, and especially number 24, Montre Moore, coming out of the backfield.
That kid, he's something else. He is a powerful runner.
Yeah, and that brings me, that was one of my questions. So how long has this program been going where you bring them up from the pups, as you call them, all the way through? How long has that been going on?
Like from Pop Warner?
Yeah.
As long as I've been here. Before
it seems like that maybe it's a perception or whatever, but it seems like the program is growing and getting stronger because it's kind of like watching, kind of like the Royals dreamed it up when it worked the one time.
Actually
14
twice.
And 15, it worked twice.
Yeah.
Right.
But they brought all those guys up, and the team grew, and they all grew together, and then bam, they went to the World Series. It's kind of been over the last, call it 4 or 5 years since we've really. It's like every year the product that's coming up through. You guys don't have a farm team, but you know what I'm saying, through the Pop Warner and the Pups and all that. It's like the program is getting stronger and stronger every year. It just feels that way.
The good thing to see is as talented as this senior class was, this was a smaller class, and it's been a smaller class coming through. Talented, but depth-wise, not there as far as the numbers. As you're looking at our junior class going into seniors are in the we're at 30. Our sophomore to be junior class is in the 30s. Our to be sophomore class with that freshman class is in the 40s. So our numbers, and within those numbers, the spark about Kearney football is there, and the kids are there, and they're excited about football. They're excited about seeing the players whenever they see them around, and that our youth camp, even though under COVID and restrictions, was with the age groups that we had involved in, that was more than we've ever had. So the energy about Kearney football is there, and they're excited about it, and we've got some talent from top to bottom. Even the bottom guys understand where they need to go and what they need to do, and are bought in and are working hard to push themselves and to push the guys in front of them to where they can be successful. And that's the fun thing as you build a program and you continue to do that year in and year out, to see the progress made from each class from year to year, from the start to the finish. And then once you start again, how do they respond to being a senior, and what does that look like? And now that not pressure, but that responsibility is on the senior class to teach the guys what they were taught as underclassmen, and how they convey that, and how that the program grows with them, and how they can continue to grow it.
Coming up to the top of the hour, Coach. Thank you so much. We're closing out.
Better every year.
Absolutely does.
Second in district,
right? And I like the sound
of
that.
COVID year.
Congratulations, Coach. Great job this year. It's always good being with you. Also want to thank the Quarterback Club for the wonderful photos that you provided us, allowed us to use on this show, and we also used them in our news stories. Thank you so much for being with us this year on the 2020 version of the Coach Gray Show. Coach, thanks so much to you.
Thank you much. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. See you next year for the 2021 season of Bulldog football.